Gould's life seems ideal. Peace, calm, time to study in idyllic surroundings. But his world is also an unnerving one. It takes courage of a high order to play Beethoven before the supercritical audience of Berlin, or to present oneself on the same platform as the great Russian pianists of today.
How do you feel about playing on the concert platform and playing in the recording studio?
I much prefer the recording, and I gather that this is not the standard reaction, because most people find the recording is very trying. They feel uneasy in the presence of something that is going to be permanent, and the microphone conveys this to them. But I feel quite the opposite. The microphone is a great friend because I was brought up with it. When I was in my teens and still at school, I didn't do any traveling at all. The only city in which I really played was Toronto, and perhaps once or twice a year there. And so that if I did any performing at all, it had to be on the radio, or from 1952 on television, when we had it in Canada. And I became so used to these media, to being alone in the studio, that nothing else mattered. In fact, I've often wondered if the justifiable complaints that I sometimes hear about my platform manner isn't the result of the fact that for many years, formative years, I could be completely uninhibited, and it didn't matter what I did, as long as the music got across. This was the only thing that counted to me, because I had no yardstick of measuring. I seldom went to concerts even then. I never do now, and I had no yardstick really of measuring what other people did. And what I did at that time was done in order to make myself at ease and to get something out of myself which otherwise might have remained in and had to come out on the microphone to get across. And I've often wondered if this didn't go back to those days.
Why don't you like going to concerts?
Well, first of all, I think I'm at all times slightly uncomfortable in great crowds of people. I always have been. Tend to become slightly claustrophobic in a large hall. I don't feel at all that way on the stage because there's plenty of room to breathe, but I tend to be that way when I participate in an audience. Less so in a cinema, because there everything is in the dark, and it's a sort of secretive feeling. The relationship of one person to another in a spectacle doesn't really exist. You're all sort of pretending that you're by yourself. I always have this feeling in a cinema, so I enjoy going to movies. I also enjoy going to the theater for much the same reasons. But to concerts, for the dual reason that the hall is generally brighter, and also for the much more important reason that I know too much about what goes on in a person's mind who is actually having to do this. And I feel exceedingly nervous at somebody else's concert. Much more nervous than I've ever been at any of my own. It can be the most capable person in the world, and I'm still almost panic-stricken.
How do you like all this traveling you have to do?
When I'm up here and sitting in the country for anything over 10 days or 2 weeks and dealing with people whose relationship to their work is a somewhat more indifferent one in one case, and on the other hand, more regular one in the other, that they know from 1 week to the next what they will be doing, where they will be. It will be the same place. It will be a schedule which is almost unvariable. When I'm with people like this, I find myself envying them very much. And in fact, at such times, I wonder how it is possible that the following week I will be back into a schedule which seems at that moment almost intolerable to me. I wonder how I do it. When you get to that point, when you leave here, I can only say that I feel something like I did as a child when it was Labor Day and the next day meant going back to school. It was a completely horrible feeling. It was a feeling of being trapped as much as one would be if one were suddenly consigned to the netherworld, you know, irrevocably. It was a dreadful feeling. For many years I had a recurring dream, which I think has stopped now, but it came during my school years and shortly after. And this dream always involved variations on the same theme, which was a return to school. And school in this case obviously meant much more than that. It meant a return to a schedule which I couldn't completely control. And it was a dreadful kind of thing. I remember one very colorful variation on it, which I think I must have dreamt when I was perhaps 15 or 16. And I dreamt that I got up one morning up here at the lake and looked out my window, and instead of seeing grass, I saw rock, as one would see 100 miles to the north of here. Just endless rock, a little bit curved, a little bit heaving, but rock. And on this rock, there were nothing but dead leaves of some kind. And that was all there was to the dream. And then I, shortly after that, woke up with that feeling that one can never describe. So absolutely sad beyond all description. It was something which I shall never forget. And I had many variations on this same image at that time. And to this day, this is approximately the way I feel when I have to return to a life which I don't really enjoy. Now then, when one gets into it, another kind of thing takes hold. If it didn't, I think it would become so unbearable that one simply could not continue. At least I couldn't. But if you are playing a concert every second or third night for a month, this seems, in a way, a reasonably normal way to live at the time. It's only when one gets away from it that one realizes what a crazy artificial existence it is.
When musicians get together these days, the shop talk often leads to argument. Gould is a distinguished exponent of the works of the modern atonal composers, but unlike Franz Kremer, he has some reservations about the musical direction begun by such revolutionary composers as Webern.
Well, you know that I was studying with Weber one season in a class with other people. And he was a very shy person, as his music is, rather shy.
Is this shy music?
Well, I still call it rather.
Well, it's reticent.
Small, reticent,
yeah.
And he was very, very reticent. And there's no doubt about that.
This is shy music. What would happen if you kidnapped a child today, let's say 18 months old child, and
what a gruesome
well, not in a gruesome way, and took it to a mountain retreat where no music could be brought to it except the music that you would play to it and leave in its presence, and this child would be brought up knowing nothing but pure 12-tone music in the sense of Schoenberg and Webern, discriminately in the sense of their adherence today, but very carefully selected. Pure 12-tone music. Do you think that by the time this child was, say, 6 or 7, when a child's folk song image is at its strongest, and the period is going on, do you think that they would then be singing
No, I don't think they would.
You think that the interest in music would be stifled completely? Or
no, I don't think so either. I think they would probably by that time have developed their own way of thinking about melodies, and they would have melodies.
Or they'd just be sticking out their tongues at their kidnappers.
Well, that too. What I wanted to ask you is,